Hello everyone. Let us start the next module, that is structural patterns. And in this we are studying several patterns, that is composite pattern, bridge pattern, uh, next decorator pattern, and several patterns we come across in this structural pattern. So what are structural patterns? What are involved in these structural patterns? That we'll see in this video. Structural patterns are concerned with how classes and objects are composed to form large structures. See, whenever a software is to be designed, at that time a lot of classes will be involved and many objects needs to be created for accomplishing the task. So, a proper structure, if at all we form, then that does some task. If there is no proper structure or if there is no proper collaboration between one component and the other component, you cannot say that this particular structure does a proper task. So structural classes patterns use inheritance to compose interfaces or implementations. There can be an inheritance relationship among one or the other classes. See, whenever we talk about classes and classes, there will be definitely a relation between the two classes. That is a inheritance relationship or user relationship. So these are the topics which come under whenever we are taking the concept of more number of classes. This pattern is particularly useful for making independently developed class libraries work together. These classes, whenever they are working together, at that time independently one or the other classes will be performing their actions, and that will be a whole together or all together will be uh, example or will be doing some certain tasks. So under this, the first pattern is the composite pattern or composite pattern under the structural one, or you can say the other one also you can consider for this. Intent means purpose, as we have already seen in the first module. What is the meaning of an intent? What is the meaning of a motivation and all? So here an intent means what is the aim of this pattern, the studying of this main pattern. Intent compose objects into three structures to represent part whole hierarchies. Composite lets client treat individual objects and compositions of objects uniformly. So, in a tree structured manner, all the hierarchies will be embedded. So, one composes several components. So, what is that contains several components and how these operate? Intent means one has to think about there is some component, so that component composes or includes several components, and those are by making use of those components it performs certain tasks. This is what the intention behind this composite. Motivation: graphic applications like drawing editor and schematic picture systems lets user build large complex diagrams out of simple components. So here is one example. This example lets you understand there is one graphics editor. What is this graphics editor or drawing editor also you can say. In this drawing editor, you come across several functions. So those all several functions are present in one particular class. And why this example is taken under consideration? Because this is the parent class and these are the child classes. And there is a child, and you can say that there is an inheritance among these classes. So when there is an inheritance among these classes, the features of this will be made use of this particular class. So you can say that this is the parent and these are the child. What the services it can take from the parent class. So which is the composite here? This is a composite. This class is a composite one which includes all the functionality, and these are the individual classes. And the key of to the composite pattern is an abstract class that represent both primitives and other containers. So this this is a pattern. This is a class which is a composite class which contains another primitives also like picture, and this is one more which extends the same class. And for the drawing system, this class is graphics. Graphic declares operations like draw that are specific to graphic objects. It also declares operations that all composite objects share, such as operations for accessing and managing its children. So all these classes, that is line, rectangle, and a triangle, and the text will do its task whenever its turn comes. So line, there is one method for this that does the particular task. Rectangle, it does its task, and the text, it does its task. It makes the text to be written on the screen. So the subclass, so that's what is told here. The subclasses will does its operations. So what is the picture class defines an aggregate of graphics object. Picture implements draw to off, draw to call, draw to its children, and its implements child related operations accordingly. So whatever is there in this. Here, this is the parent class. This is a child class. Again, this child class is having the child. So whatever the instruction is given by this, this class makes use of that. This class makes use of this, and appropriate actions will be taken by these classes. Because the picture interfaces conforms to the graphics interface, picture object can compose its other pictures recursively. So what is the aim of this picture class is every class will be doing some or the other tasks, and here we have two picture classes wherein it is having certain subclasses of that. Use of composite, where this the use of composite pattern will be use. You want to represent part whole hierarchies. When you want to represent a part whole hierarchy, which is part here and which is whole here, so these are the parts. This is a whole. Why? Because so by aggregating all these, it becomes a one complete application. And you, when you want clients to be able to ignore the differences between compositions of objects and individual objects, client will treat all objects in the composite structure uniformly. So here these are called as a client. It makes use of the services of its parent class. So individual objects, or you can say that this is the individual one. These are the individual, makes use of these of their parent classes to accomplish their task. So structure, as we have already noted here. So client, there is one operation. These are these two are the parent child classes, and it makes use of a services of a component, and the same thing is shown in the hierarchical manner. Participants, uh, here also composite picture, by taking a picture as a example, this is being explained. Collaborators, clients use the component class interface to interact with objects in the composite structure. If the recipient is a leaf, then the request is short handled directly. If the other one is a leaf, then the control is handled directly. Otherwise, it has to be forwarded to the subparent, and then it has to be forwarded to the next leaf. Consequences: the composite pattern defines class hierarchies consisting of primitive objects and composite objects. Makes the client simple. The composite pattern makes the client simple. Makes it easier to add new kinds of components. How the arrangement of this composite is? The arrangement of composite is nothing but the client has to be simple, because if it is complex, then working principle uh, will not be enough for uh, uh, for the user to use. Next, it can be designed overly general. Generally, it will be designed any layman can able to understand. So in that manner, it will be. implementation. Explicit parent references. Explicit parent references means first the parent has to be implemented. Then only you can see that which all the operations in that parent can be given to the others. Next, sharing components. So the some of the components which are present in the parent can be shared. So maximizing the component interfaces. Components interfaces to the sub childs has to be done. Declaring the child management operations. Child management operations. What the child has to do, that has to be taken care. Should component implement a list of components? Yes, components also has to list of components. Child or ordering, in which order the child has to be given the order of execution. Caching to improve performance. Always caching is nothing but a buffering. Buffering, whenever the instruction comes, it has to be buffered so that the performance will improve. Now, who should delete components? The parent itself has to delete the components. So in the implementation part itself, one has to decide about who should delete the components. What's the best data structure for sorting? What is the best data structure for sorting? That is whether the hash tables has to be used or list has to be used. So that has to be decided while implementing it. So it is given that in the Smalltalk compiler framework we use a composite pattern, and related patterns are these are the two related patterns. So this is about a composite pattern. In the coming video we have to see what is the bridge pattern, what are the known uses of a bridge pattern, what is the motivation. Next, its uh, its drawbacks, its applicability, its structure, consequences under implementation, and the known uses. In the same manner, we shall proceed further for the other topics also for the decorators. First comes will be an intent section itself, also known as also has to be studied, and whichever question will be asked, it will be explain composite pattern. Explain composite pattern. If the question is, you need to write the intent, next motivation, its diagram, its known users, next its implementation, its merits and its demerits. So that covers around 12 mark question also. Okay, so let me stop here. In the next video let me continue with the next part.